When Emily, my daughter-in-law, told me to leave, I smiled instead of crying. I smiled because what else could I do? All my life I had lived for others, for David, my son, for my husband who passed many years ago, for friends, for neighbors, for anyone who needed me. I never thought anyone would ever tell me that I didn't belong in my own home. I remember the evening perfectly. The room was quiet, too quiet. David was sitting in his chair, looking tense, unsure how to speak. And Emily, she looked at me with a seriousness I had never seen before. "Mom," she said softly but firmly, "I think it's time you step back and leave." I felt 1,000 emotions at once: shock, disbelief, sadness, love, hurt, guilt. I wanted to cry. I wanted to argue. I wanted to beg her to understand. But I didn't. Instead, I nodded gently. "I understand," I said. David's eyes filled with tears, but he said nothing. That night, I went to my room, packed a small bag, and sat quietly, listening to the silence of the home I had built with love. I had spent decades caring, nurturing, and giving, and now, in one sentence, it felt as if my life's work had been erased. I thought back to when David was a little boy. He had scraped his knee riding his bike. I cleaned the wound carefully, applied a bandage, kissed his forehead, and whispered, "It's okay, my love, you're safe." I thought of every late night I stayed awake helping him with homework, every tear I wiped from his eyes, every argument I mediated, every birthday I planned, every moment I spent making him feel loved. And now my own son and his wife were asking me to leave. I thought of Emily, the young woman I had once welcomed like a daughter. I had baked her favorite cakes, helped decorate their home, and given advice when I thought it would help. But apparently it wasn't enough. I realized then that life doesn't always give you the endings you hope for. Sometimes love is misunderstood. I sat on my bed quietly crying. Not loud, not dramatic, just soft, quiet tears that no one could hear. And I wondered, how did it come to this?
I am Susan. I live in a small town in England. I am 62 years old now, though sometimes I feel much older. I have always been a caregiver. Even as a young woman, I was the one who looked after my sick mother, comforted my younger siblings, and helped neighbors whenever I could. I married young to a kind, gentle man named Peter. We built a home together, a small but happy house filled with love, laughter, and music. Our son David was our greatest joy. From the moment he was born, I felt a love so deep it scared me sometimes. I watched him grow. Every scraped knee, every fall, every heartbreak, I was there. When he grew older, he met Emily. Emily was bright, cheerful, full of energy. I welcomed her as my own daughter, and for a while, everything was perfect. We would cook together, bake cakes, and plan family holidays. I even bought matching aprons for Emily and me once. She laughed and said it was silly, but I didn't mind. I thought we had a bond, a friendship, a love that would last. But slowly, I noticed changes. Emily would sigh when I offered help. She would avoid me at meals. Small remarks like, "Mom, that's enough," or "I can handle it," started to feel like walls between us. I tried to step back, give space, but it never seemed to be enough. David noticed too. He tried to mediate, to explain, but I could see the stress in his eyes. And then came that day, the day she told me I was interfering too much. I didn't shout, I didn't argue, I just nodded, and quietly I began to step back. I remember sitting alone in my room that night. The walls were familiar, but suddenly cold. I thought of all the years, of the love, of the care, and I felt a deep ache in my chest. I realized that sometimes, no matter how much you give, it may not be enough for others.
The days after Emily's words were the hardest I have ever experienced. I kept wondering, what had I done wrong? Was it too much care? Too much advice? Too much love? Every morning I would wake up and see David sitting at the kitchen table. His eyes were tired, full of worry, and yet he smiled at me gently. "Morning, Mum," he would say softly. I would nod and quietly sip my tea, feeling a pang of sadness deep in my chest. Emily, meanwhile, had grown distant. She no longer shared stories of her day. She no longer laughed at my jokes. Even meals together became silent, awkward, tense. I tried to stay in my room, give them space, but somehow I was always in the way. One evening, I found David cleaning the living room. "David," I said softly, is Emily upset with me?" He paused and looked at me with deep sorrow. "David, she says you interfere too much," he said quietly. I nodded, trying not to cry. "I understand," I whispered. That night, I went to my room and cried, not loudly, just quiet sobs, heartbroken, wishing someone, anyone, would tell me it was okay to be me. I remembered all the nights I had stayed awake, worrying about David, the times I had helped Emily when she struggled with work, money, or family issues, all the meals I had cooked, the holidays I had planned, the advice I had given, and yet it felt like none of it mattered. Weeks passed, and I tried to stay invisible. I would sit in my room, reading, knitting, or quietly helping with chores when no one was watching. Sometimes I would catch Emily watching me from the kitchen doorway. Her face would be tight, frustrated, but sometimes I thought I saw a flicker of guilt. One rainy afternoon, I was folding laundry in the living room. David came in, his hands shaking slightly. "Mum, she's upset again," he whispered. I didn't say anything. I just nodded and kept folding. It hurt more than I could describe. All my life I had given love freely, and yet now my love was being rejected, misunderstood, unwanted. Then came the day everything changed. I had gone into the kitchen to prepare a small meal. Emily came in, her face pale and tight. "I can't do this anymore," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I think you should go, live somewhere else." I felt my heart shatter into pieces. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to tell her everything I had done, every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every tear. But I didn't. I just nodded slowly, my eyes stinging with tears. "I understand," I whispered. David looked at me, his own eyes red. "Mum, please, don't leave yet." But I knew I had to. I packed my things quietly that night. One small suitcase. Every item I packed carried memories. A sweater David loved, a scarf Emily once complimented, small reminders of love and care. I walked through the house silently, touching each corner as if saying goodbye. I saw David's childhood toys in the living room, the photos of family holidays, birthdays, small moments of laughter. My heart ached. At the door, Emily stood. Her eyes were wet, her lips trembling. I didn't mean, she started, but I stopped her with a gentle smile. It's okay, Emily. I understand, I said softly. David hugged me tightly. Mom, please don't go, he whispered. I kissed his forehead and stepped outside. The cold night air hit my face. I walked slowly down the path, my suitcase rolling beside me, every step heavy with memories and sadness. I found a small bed and breakfast nearby, the kind with soft lights and quiet rooms. I checked in and sat by the window looking at the lights of the town, thinking of the home I had built and the family I had loved. Tears streamed down my face, silently, because no one was there to comfort me. The days in that small bed and breakfast were long and lonely. I would wake up each morning, look out the window at the quiet streets, and wonder if David and Emily were thinking of me. I kept telling myself I did everything I could. I loved them as much as I could, but sometimes love is not enough. I spent my mornings walking slowly through the town, carrying my memories like heavy stones in my heart. I would sit by the fountain, watching children play, and I remembered David when he was little, how he would chase birds and laugh so freely. Sometimes I would hear a soft voice from the past, a memory of Emily thanking me for something, a gentle hug, or a simple smile, and my heart would ache even more. I wrote letters to them, letters I never sent. I poured all my love, all my pain, all my longing into those letters. Dear David, I hope you know how much I love you. I hope you remember every small thing I did because I wanted to make your life better. And to Emily, I never meant to interfere. I only wanted to help. I only wanted you to feel loved. I hope one day you understand. Even writing those letters, I didn't send them. Part of me wanted them to reach David and Emily, but another part knew that maybe some things cannot be fixed, not yet. The nights were the hardest. I would lie in bed staring at the ceiling, feeling the emptiness of the room, the emptiness of my heart. I missed my home. I missed David's laughter. I missed Emily's smile, even if it had been rare. I started keeping a journal, writing down everything I felt, every tear, every sigh, every small joy I could find in the quiet moments. One evening, I walked to a small park, the sun setting behind the hills. I saw a mother helping her daughter tie her shoes, and I felt a pang of longing, wishing I could go back and fix what had gone wrong. But I also realized something important. I had loved freely. I had given everything I had, and even if they did not understand, even if they pushed me away, I had done my part. Months passed, and slowly I learned to carry the sadness with me, without letting it break me completely.
I never returned to their house. Not because I didn't want to, but because I needed to give them space, and maybe one day they would understand. David sent a message once, short, simple. "Hope you're okay, Mom." My heart ached when I read it, and I didn't reply immediately. I waited, knowing that love sometimes needs patience, and forgiveness takes time. I think about that night often, the night Emily told me to leave. I remember her words, her face, the silence that followed. And I remember my choice to step back, quietly, without anger, without resentment. I realized that love is not always about being close. Sometimes, love means letting go. I still cry, often. I still miss them, more than words can say. But I am learning to live, to find peace, to heal my own heart, even in sadness. I keep their memories alive, in my thoughts, in my letters, in my quiet moments. And I hope, one day, when they are ready, they will understand the love I gave and the pain I carried silently. For now, I sit by the window, watching the world move on, holding my heart gently, letting the tears fall. Because life, even in its sadness, continues. And maybe that is the greatest lesson I have learned. Even when no one is there, even when love is misunderstood, we must still love, we must still care, and we must still live, even when our hearts are heavy. Because love, even if unreturned, is never wasted. And maybe, just maybe, one day they will remember, and our hearts will meet again. Thank you for listening. Remember to love, even when it hurts, because that is the truest form of courage.